When we hear the phrase World War, our minds immediately snap to black and white footage of static, muddy trenches. We picture millions of drafted soldiers crossing oceans, massive physical beach landings, and borders being forcibly redrawn by tank divisions. But look at the 2026 conflict between the US, Israel, and Iran. The physical destruction, the missile strikes and collapsed buildings, appears contained almost entirely to a single geographic region. Because of that physical containment, it is easy to assume this is a distant regional clash. But modern global conflicts do not require troops marching across your physical borders. They bypass those borders entirely by attacking the interconnected global systems we rely on to live. The Middle East crisis has already breached your borders. World War III is happening right now, but the battlefields look absolutely nothing like the history books. This map shows the geographic epicenter of the crisis, highlighting the initial 2023 conflict zone between Gaza and Israel. This narrow strip of land served as the detonator. The localized fighting rapidly activated the axis of resistance. These are proxy militias, armed groups funded, trained, and directed by Iran rather than operating as official state armies, launching attacks out of Lebanon and Syria. The violence then dragged in Yemen, activating Houthi forces. They brought anti-ship missiles and drone swarms into the equation, escalating the situation far beyond a local territorial dispute. That regional chain reaction ultimately culminated in the 2026 direct military strikes by the US and Israel straight into Iranian territory. Bombs dropping and malicious fighting on the ground is the most traditional form of combat, but in this war, the kinetic layer is only the beginning. It serves as the trigger for the attacks happening everywhere else. That brings us to the economic layer. Houthi forces realized they didn't need to defeat Western navies in a pitched battle. They only needed to fire enough cheap drones to make commercial shipping companies terrified to send their massive container ships through the Red Sea. This map isolates the Strait of Hormuz, a 34-mile-wide waterway between Oman and Iran. Those flowing arrows represent the 20% of the entire world's liquid petroleum consumption that squeezes through this single bottleneck every day. When geography is weaponized, energy markets panic. We saw Brent crude, the major trading classification that sets the global benchmark price for oil, shoot up to $120 a barrel. That price spike travels instantly to the West. Higher oil prices mean it costs more to power the factories making your goods and the trucks delivering your groceries. Commercial ships take longer routes, semiconductor prices rise, and inflation eats directly into your monthly budget. You do not have to put on a uniform to feel the weight of this conflict. A regional missile strike forces a global economic draft, extracting a hidden war tax straight from your wallet. The third battlefield makes absolutely no noise at all. State-sponsored cyber warfare allows hostile nations to deploy malicious code instead of infantry. Iran and its allies don't need to sink a U.S. aircraft carrier to inflict damage on American soil. They can bypass the Pentagon entirely by attacking the digital networks that keep civilian society functioning. Hackers probe local power grids for vulnerabilities, launch ransomware attacks against hospital patient databases, and target personal financial systems to destabilize the economy from the inside out. In a fully digitized world, the front line is the internet. The boundary between a foreign war zone and your own living room has completely dissolved. So is World War III already here? Yes. But understanding it requires accepting a completely new, hybrid definition of global conflict. You won't see politicians signing a formal declaration of war on television. You won't see millions of drafted citizens boarding ships to cross the Atlantic, even as massive aircraft carriers project traditional military power abroad. The reality of 21st century warfare is a permanent state of geopolitical shock. It looks like prolonged stagflation, a toxic economic condition where high inflation combines with stagnant economic growth and high unemployment. It looks like vulnerable digital privacy and constant supply chain failures. Surviving this doesn't mean digging a physical bunker. It requires systemic prepping. That means building financial resilience by inflation-proofing your savings and practicing strict personal cyber hygiene, the daily routine of using multi-factor authentication and securing your home network against unauthorized access. The modern battlefield is everywhere. Surviving the Third World War relies entirely on recognizing how deeply your quiet daily life is tethered to a conflict happening 6,000 miles away.